I've been trying to limit my screen time like consciously. I have like apps and I have that cookie jar I put it in, and I find sometimes I'll like I honestly feel like I'll have a week where I'm just like, geez, I was on my phone so much this week, and like the week like flies by, and I feel like my fucking wiring is different when I'm on my phone too much. Like it literally sucks you in.
Do you find yourself like trying to go for it and then you block your own hand off? Bad, Danny.
Legitimately, dude, I have a second phone because I have the other phone, and then I set up like a different Instagram profile on or whatever.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'm like, I'll put my other phone on, like, get away. And then I'm like on my other phone and I'm like, what the fuck is the point of like the whole thing? It's just, I mean, you're so like they
that's an easy one to rationalize though, especially with what we do, because you're like, I want to be tapped into what's going on.
That's the problem.
Like a lot of people in our industry will be like, oh yeah, just look at your phone, and you're like, okay, well I'm like, my whole life is like kind of knowing the pulse of what's going on and talking about it. But you're right, there's still
when I'm just like fucking refreshing my For You page because there aren't enough tweets being generated for me to like, I'm just like, okay, I'm not doing anything productive.
This is the problem with this whole game, because you never know if you are, and that's what's like when you're sitting there thinking of jokes and stuff. It's so stupid, but it's like the same as the other thing. It's like you're right. You go you're fucking looking at old head memes, probably.
Yeah, you're like that is you're watching garbage TV at that point, like that, and it's replaced that. Like, they used to say,
am I on the fucking forefront of meme culture?
I mean, I'll say this:
am I on the fucking pinnacle of what the fucking meme trends are?
I feel like I can get everything I need to get out of social media in 90 minutes a day.
That's probably true,
for sure.
90 minutes is plenty.
Minutes. Yeah. I sometimes spend 5 times that.
Look at the trending things.
Yeah, I sometimes spend 5 times that. Like sometimes I'll be like, I don't even understand where the day went. I'm like, I don't even remember being on my phone.
You actually might be worse than me for like just constantly on your phone.
Oh, I'm on my phone a ton. I'm like insanely addicted to it. It's crazy.
Yeah, those grinder messages are coming in.
And also sometimes I'm just like, it's a prioritizing thing too, because like I'll sometimes be on like the subway and I go like, or whatever, I'll be like in between shows. I'm like, I could have made this my phone time, where this makes sense to be phone time. Like I am like, I want to, I don't know if I will, but like personally, I'm like, I'd like to just not be on my phone at home ever, or not ever, but like definitely not like Monday to Friday during the day. But it's
good
hard.
Fucking luck.
I know it is good fucking luck.
I mean,
and then
the worst fucking internet business.
No, and the worst part too is sometimes I'll be like, I'll have to be like, okay, I have to go on Instagram for a reason. Like I'm just gonna go on Instagram, post it.
You allow yourself a little old head as a treat.
No, it's not.
Danny likes to go on old head memes as a treat.
No, it's not even as a treat. Is in my mind. I'll go like, okay, I want to go like, I have a DM I need to respond to. I forgot or whatever. Like, and I have to. If I don't tell myself, you're like. You're logging into Instagram to do this thing and that's it. Like, how many times have you gone to do a thing and then an hour later you're like, what was I doing? Like,
I'll tell you what, I have a lot of but sometimes it's that wandering that I think of stuff. But there's this other thing where it's like I have like fucking 20 pages right now between all the YouTubes, the Instagrams and all that stuff.
I know.
And then yeah, but like some of them, I have a few pages where I never even check them. Like I literally just upload stuff and never look. Mm-hmm. And it was like, seems to be working fine.
That's what I'm saying.
It seems to be working fine without me fucking checking every last thing. Yep. You know what I mean? Like you kind of, I guess there's like I do try to like look at comments and respond to them and see like what people think or whatever. But I have a few pages where I never look at comments. It was like nothing seems to change.
Nothing's changing. I'll give you a really good example. So I have this app, and then I haven't upgraded to like the paid app. So it's like the free app, which it's called Unplug or whatever, and it limits your screen time. But you can only pick 2 apps. So I picked Twitter and
what happens if you go to extra screen time? It says, Danny, you're being a bad boy.
No. What happens?
Calls you a bad boy.
No, what happens is we
got a bad boy alert.
Keep entering this fucking like series of pressing your screen, and it just like
makes it annoying to
do. And then so now my like Facebooks, which I never even go on Facebook, that screen time has gone up because that's one of the apps that's not restricted. And I don't even use it because I just want to just do it because it's just like it releases dopamine.
What's that app called?
It's called Unpluck, like UNPLUQ.
Do you recommend it?
Yeah, it's good. Like you can see the moment I started using it, my screen time on Facebook, on Instagram, and Twitter.
A million people have said this, but it is really going to be like. In 10 years, basically people will talk about this diet the same way they talk about actual diets.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
But it's 100%. Still in the early stages, you know what I mean? Then there's going to be like big tobacco lobbying, essentially, the way that they lobbied for other stuff, being like, actually, it's proven to be good for you.
Plus, also, the more I stay off my screen, the more I can kind of hold it over my girlfriend that she's more addicted to her phone than me, even though I actually have to be on it for my work.
So do you go hard on her for that?
Well, yeah. I mean, she's so... look, everybody's pretty addicted to their phone that we know.
I love it when your chick tells you like, fucking, it'd be like, hey, did you see this thing? Is like, yeah, I was on the internet 5 days ago.
Oh, I mean, literally, my girlfriend is like not even exaggerating. She'll be like, "Did you hear about this?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yes, I know. OJ's fucking out of jail now.
Like a week ago.
Did you hear this OJ guy just robbed? He robbed his own jerseys. They're putting him in jail.
Nicole Simpson.
Someone was talking about how the double standard of all that shit's so funny, where it's like, oh, it was Noam from the Comedy Cellar.
Yeah,
he's on the podcast, so he has good like theories on things. But he was like talking about how with the Louis stuff, they wanted him to kick Louis out, and he was just like, I mean, if you told me 10 years ago, like any of my other staff, like a bartender or whatever, it'd be like, and I fired him, it was like, I'd be literally breaking a law.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? If you're like, hey, 10 years ago, one of your staff members did something bad that like he wasn't actually convicted of any crime or even charged with any crime, is like, you should fire him. He was like, yeah, that'd be illegal.
That's illegal. Yeah. That's a fire. Yeah, for sure.
And he was just like, and also there's just like no, but he said when he was talking to the New York Times, so the New York Times was like called him and they were like asking him about it, right? And they were essentially they go, this was the craziest thing that kind of blew my mind. Not blew my mind, but pretty wild. He said, you know, I just think there should be some a semblance of like a non-double standard, because he was like, you guys, you know, everyone's like so hard on this one, but it's like Mike Tyson has a TV show right now. Bill Clinton is still like he has more accusations than Louis does, and he's still like a lot of professional or whatever. And then because he said, he goes, I'll only do it if you actually print what I say verbatim. Mm-hmm. And they called him back and they were like, listen, we can only use you if we can only use your statement if you remove the part about the Clintons.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But it is pretty crazy where it's like, imagine being a journalist and he's like, you're putting your thumb on the scale. That's what they're saying.
Big time. Well,
but I know that they all do it, but like the level of I don't know what the right word is, the level of like extremeness of actually telling the person you have to change your quote.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being a journalist quoting someone and saying you have to change your quote? That's like fucking nuts.
No, it's crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's a different. We were talking to our friend John last night or whatever, and he was reading this book. I can't remember what it was called, but it was about the history of the Washington Post, and he was saying how like back in the 30s or whatever, the guy who bought the Washington Post, I can't remember what his name was, like 33, but he wrote this huge list of like, this is what a newspaper should be. And John's just like, if you took that now and you go like, yeah, this is perfect. Like, this is what a newspaper should be, because newspapers used to.
And what is it?
Like, it's just like, tell the truth. Like, don't have like, because the whole thing is newspapers used to, he said like, first off, it was like, they were like these monopolies. Like you had these when you bought a newspaper, like you had a monopoly on essentially people's attention for the most part. But like they held it as like this very esteemed thing to own a newspaper. And they actually like cared about reporting the shit. And you're like, look, you can editorialize. There's a section for that.
Yeah.
In the paper. And if you want to go opposite, like op-ed, opposite the editorial page, there's a section for that. But like, you don't editorialize in the news. And now they do. And like, that's the whole like putting the thumb on the scale. They're like, they all just editorialize now, and they're not papers. They're not news.
You know, a really good point on that I like that Dave said when we were chatting. But I think this is like one of his.
Dave Smith, everybody.
Dave Smith. I think this is one of his points. But basically, he was kind of like, because people always say it's like, oh, they just do it for the clicks.
Yeah.
Like people always write off the news of like, oh, that's what happens when you have to get clicks. And he was like, everyone always just like said that so much that I don't know, I'm paraphrasing, but like people have almost said this so much that we believe it. But he was like, okay, but if people were doing it for the clicks, there's plenty of stories that would get lots of clicks that they don't air.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, very well.
Like there's plenty of stories where you go, like, finding out that like Fauci was like doing a big lie would get a lot of clicks.
Of course.
But it's like they don't air that, or, there's a million stories that would get a ton of clicks that they don't air. And it's like,
because it's their friends or whatever.
Yeah, so it's like, it's almost like a cop-out to say that they're doing it for the clicks. It's not really true.
No.
They're like corporate media that's like, government press, basically.
Yeah, exactly. They're just corporate media. They have, they're hanging on to their power as much as possible.
But it's also like, I almost believe that. Like people just say that so much that it's like, well, that's what happens. They're doing it for the clicks. That's what the internet does. And it's like, they're not though.
Yeah.
It's something else.
Yeah. I mean, like fucking BuzzFeed is doing it for the clicks. They're not, but like the big ones are definitely not.
Yeah, but I'm sure you could find things that BuzzFeed would get a lot of clicks for, but they still wouldn't post. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
like they're doing it for the clicks within, but there's a narrative that has to be within the clicks for the cause.
Yeah, of course.
So the clicks is second. That's in the order of operations of how we make decisions. The clicks is second. That's kind of the point of it.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty well said.
Yeah. So I thought that was a really good point. But anyways, a little fucking.
Anyways, I'm addicted to my
internal convo.
Yeah.
Some fucking internal stuff. I
actually put my screen time on my front page of my thing to show me.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Sometimes I still like I have like a blindness where even though it's the first thing I see, sometimes I'll be like, I don't think I've looked at it today, even though I've looked at my phone 50 times. So weird.
Is it weird?
I put it right in front of my face. I still somehow don't see it.
Fuck. Well, I feel like I spent the last like year plus like really just trying to systemize things, which is like one of the hardest things to do, and I felt like it really took away from my creativity, and I think I forced it by just like not sleeping and just living like in a living hell. But then I felt like in the last 2 months or so I've actually started to see the returns on all that systemization, which has given me my mind back, which has forced me to really think about like how do I optimize this other part again, which has sort of made me think about like, okay, how am I actually best when I'm not just like sitting in 90 problems that I'm trying to solve, because I've sort of actually, a lot of my systems are actually working pretty good now. Which took forever to do.
I mean,
so
you
it's
gotta
a good
figure
thing.
out the sleep thing.
The sleep thing's my biggest problem at the moment.
I would try
I actually do the Nexos.
No, I know. I would try the.
They help a little bit but they help half the time, because half the time it works and half the time my brain fights it.
Yeah, I would try honestly the screen time thing.
Well, I think also
it so overly stimulates you. Like I can't fucking.
Okay,
I can't read a book anymore.
Screen time I need to try. The other thing that I really need to probably do is just. Well, I do this where I just be exhausted for 3 days no matter what, and eventually it's like, that's what they say on the farm. It's like the Yellowstone thing was.
Should we do bug?
If you don't go to sleep, you're not tired enough.
Okay, how about for Bugman versus Bugman, like 5,000 subscribers, we go to Thailand to like a fucking monk retreat, and who can be the best monk?
That's pretty funny.
We'll have to be like pure silence for fucking like a week or something.
Doesn't seem like the greatest episode.
No. Gotta be honest. Well, yeah, that's a good point.
It's not doing a ton for me. Silent competition.
It's just no cameras allowed. You go, we didn't think this out very well, did we?
Do the silent competition in the monk sanctuary.
We'll live stream it though. It'll be like Fish Tank, like a literal fucking 24-hour live stream of silence.
Yeah, I don't think that'll
eating
be
fucking
great.
rice and bananas.